Should I jump it off? You want to jump it off?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Just be your trusty sidekick.
Cool.
All right, we are recording.
We are. Hello, world. I'm Adam Levin from Podcast Outfitters and Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center, and I'm here with Molly Ruland from Heartcast Media, and we're here to talk about podcast equipment.
Pew pew.
Pew pew. So, we got some cool gear here to show you. It's
the great microphone shootout of 2020.
Yep.
What are we doing?
At you, coming back at you.
That's right.
So, we're home. I'm at my home and Molly's at hers, and we're making the best of it. So we, between the two of us, we have a bunch of the different types of gear that you can use to record a podcast. And we just want to show some of that to you, talk about some tips and tricks, what works, how to get certain things done, and making the most of kind of what you have at home could potentially be another way to spin this. So, first off, the podcast is more about the content than anything else. You got to know what you're talking about, have that worked out. Molly's really the person for that sort of thing. But what else can you do to improve your podcast so people actually enjoy listening to it and want to listen to it more? Audio quality is absolutely imperative to really making this a pleasurable experience for your audience and delivering your audience a product that they appreciate and want to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just going to talk about a couple different things that are important to kind of understand as you are diving into the world of podcasting. So first and foremost is the microphone. Right now you can see Molly and I are both using Shure Sm7bs. You might see these used a lot of places. Joe Rogan, Gary Vaynerchuk, like hard pressed to find a guy or girl that's not using Shure Sm7b. It's just a really popular broadcast microphone. But we're going to talk about different types of microphones that you can use. And then we'll talk about different ways of getting audio into different devices and things like that. So basically, there's two types of mics in the world that you might come across more often. There's dynamics and there's condenser microphones. Condenser microphones are what you might find in like a recording studio, or if you've seen those kind of long shotgun microphones, those are also condenser microphones. They tend to be more sensitive, they pick up more sound, right? So you can be a little further away. They pick up a little better detail perhaps. But there's also some drawbacks to using condenser microphones. They could pick up more unwanted sounds. They could pick up extraneous sounds. They could pick up you tapping on the table. They could pick up the fluorescent lights. They're more prone to picking up sounds outside your house if you are, just have glass windows behind you or near you. So while they might seem like the more premium kind of answer, in terms of like the actual application of it, they tend to be a little more difficult to use. They have their places in the world. But by and large, the way Molly podcasts and the way that I've been kind of telling people to do it is using dynamic microphones, which is the other type of microphone. Dynamic microphones are generally a bit less sensitive. They're a bit more robust. For example.
Well, and Adam, if I could just jump in for a quick second, right now in the podcast world, the Blue Yeti microphone is really, really popular. The Yeti Snowball, and while they're good microphones for sure, but they are dynamic microphones, right? And so they are condenser microphones. And so it's just like Adam is saying, they're going to pick up a lot of noise. So when you see a lot of comments on Facebook and in the groups and people saying, I don't know what to do, I'm in the closet, I'm surrounded by pillows, I can still hear my neighbor's lawnmower, that's because you're using, a condenser microphone, and that's not what you want to use. It's, if you're recording a music album and you want the complexities of somebody's voice and vocal pitch, then a condenser mic is great. But if you're podcasting and you're not in an ideal like studio situation where it's soundproofed and sound treated and all that, a condenser microphone is going to make your life so much more difficult. And so it kind of leads you to the point that spending more money doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting the right microphone for your podcasting mission. It's really about the environment you're going to record in and then understanding what's the best microphone for you based on your environment. I think there's a huge misconception there, and a lot of people are spending a lot of money on these Yeti microphones, and they're really not ideal.
So yeah, I mean, that's really nails it on the head. Like, for example, like in the room I'm in right now, the TV's on in the right behind me, right behind where this computer's at, but you can't hear it because of the nature of this microphone. That it's a dynamic microphone. It's forced to, or it's designed to pick up what's in front of it and reject sound behind it. So, a more popular sort of dynamic microphone that you've probably seen around the world, out there for conferences or for panel discussions, or if you've seen singers on stage, or you've ever held a microphone and done a presentation of any kind, you've probably held this microphone. This is the Shure SM58. I'm going to flip to that one right now.
Yeah, I broke mine out too, so we can compare the different sounds.
Yeah, there you go. So now we're talking into the Shure SM58, which is a dynamic microphone. And this is going to be easy to better kind of show off what rejection means for a microphone. So just like the Shure SM7 right here, it's designed to pick up what's right in front of it, but reject what's behind it. So
same thing.
Probably not as loud in the microphone as I am right here, when you can really hear me clearly, crisp, present, in the recording.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you at all, to be honest, Adam, which brings up another point. A lot of times, especially with this particular microphone, it's a performer's microphone, and a lot of times people put their hand all over it and they change the entire way the microphone works. You also want to be really careful because it's going to pick up, if you're handling it a lot, especially if you're not wearing headphones, which you should always wear headphones, all that sound will come through on your broadcast, which is why it matters to use like a stand, if at all possible, and also to keep your headphones on, because as you can see, even just turning like this, it drastically impacts the sound, and it's really easy to go off the microphone when you're having a conversation with somebody.
Super, super easy. So that's where, even using a handheld microphone could be an awesome way to do a recording. If you're a musician and just having one of these kicking around and you're able to use it, nothing to say this isn't a great podcast microphone, especially because you're able to kind of keep it close to the mouth. Mm-hmm. The source, right? The closer you can get to it, the better. The further away you got to go, you got to turn volumes up, you got to turn gains up, and that only introduces hiss and other things that could potentially
indeed
negatively impact your recording.
100%.
I'm going to switch back to the Shure SM7. Yeah. All right. So we're back in the Shure SM7b.
Me too.
The Shure SM7b is kind of like the premium broadcast mic out there. So it's got a little more low end. It's a little more that kind of broadcast sound. It has a couple of, it has the built-in, pole mount, so you don't necessarily need, a shock mount or anything else like that. It helps mitigate like vibrations in the tables and stuff like that. But by and large, it's really about the sound. It's about kind of delivering your audience that top caliber sound. Molly mentioned USB microphones like the Yeti, and there's some other ones out there that are perfectly adequate solutions. If you don't have some ways to get mics into your computer or phone or whatever that might be, and we'll talk about those recorders in a second. USB microphones.
Hey, look at that.
Boom.
Matchy.
Right here, this is the Rode NT USB Mini. Brand new, just came out. Cute little mic.
Super heavy too. If you don't have any workout gear at home, you could always interchange your Rode USB microphone, because this thing is heavy. Oh, I feel the burn.
It's built like a tank.
I feel the burn. My bingo flaps are getting a workout.
So USB microphones absolutely have a place in the world of podcasting. Generally, I recommend them for people that are just going to do a solo podcast. It's just you in front of your computer, and you're going to be, having a discussion, maybe Zoom calls, maybe but primarily by yourself. As you kind of involve more people, you're going to want to do what's called multi-track recording. And if you have multiple people in one room, it's very difficult to really do that adequately with a single USB microphone. Some USB microphones have different pickup patterns. So all the mics that we used so far today have what's called a cardioid pickup pattern. I'll talk about that in just a second. But some USB microphones have multiple patterns, which can give you some flexibility as far as maybe involving other people and picking them up better with one microphone. But still, it doesn't quite give you the ability to edit the individual podcasters in the end. Mm-hmm. Multi-track recording is when we're recording, for example, myself on one mic, Molly on another microphone, so that if we wanted to go back and edit it later, I could edit my voice completely independent of editing Molly's voice. If I sneeze in the middle of a recording and Molly was already talking, I can totally edit my mic out and leave Molly's untouched. If we're trying to do that with one single recording, where we're all just talking on all one track, it's going to be a lot harder to deal with, and you probably won't be able to edit it out. So you just have to kind of like either deal with it or re-record it.
For sure. If I could jump in there, that I can't stress how important that really is to record your audio on separate tracks. A lot of times people want to share a microphone and it just gets really, really tough because you're going to get picked up at different signals. So even if you and your roommates are home and you want to start a podcast, if you only have one mic, you can make it work, but you really want to like check your sound, check your output, try to be, equal distance from the microphones, or maybe some of you closer depending on where you are on the microphone's pickup range. But really, if you can, try to avoid to record on separate tracks. I do know that Zoom, the business account, I don't know about Pro, but I believe so. It's a setting that you can go in there to record the audio on separate tracks. So that means right now what me and Adam are recording, his audio is on one track, mine is on another, and then that way we can clean these up and make them sound the best they possibly can, and then merge those files before we send it out. So that's what we do with our clients, right? We run the sessions on Zoom, then we take the audio, we have those separate tracks, we clean them up to make them sound the best they can. We take the video, then we match it back up with the clean audio, we run the video through our editing system, clean it up, add subtitles, add all that stuff, and make it really, really great, and then send it back to the client. And so you have that opportunity even in Zoom, but it's going to be important that you're on separate microphones so that you can get that done. So even if you want to record a podcast with your roommate, you might still be better off having them in their room on their Zoom computer and you in yours, and then that way you're not picking up each other's audio, and you would actually have a better sounding file at the end of the day than you would if you both sat in the same space.
Yeah. So, using Zoom as a recording tool these days is it's our new world. It's where we're at. And so, understanding how that tool works and how you can multi-track in it is key. So in the scenario you just kind of described with, roommates in the same place but wanting to do a multi-track recording, that's a killer way of doing multi-track recording without any other equipment. If you just have your laptop, you don't have any mics, you don't have any recording gear, and you still want to get something done, go for it. Pull your laptop in one room. It's your microphone. You run Zoom. You can do multi-track recording with your friends wherever they are in the world through Zoom, which is super cool. There are some other devices out there that can handle multi-track recording. And we want to show a couple of those to you. Maybe you've used it for recording a band at some point, or maybe you actually have one of these or want to get your hands on one of these. So what I'm using right now, I'm using the Rodecaster Pro.
Yeah, boy. I love that thing.
Which some of you might have seen out there. It is really the top of the line when it comes to podcast production equipment. Just kind of surface specs on it, basically. It's kind of hard to see, but maybe we can do it like this. It's got 4 channels right here for microphones. So that's if me and 3 other people are in the same room. Hopefully these days it's like family members only. Okay? Social distancing, try to not be all together. 4 channels for microphones, all with good preamps and a lot of different settings you can do to kind of optimize the voice. The next 3 channels right here are what really make this mixer really super powerful. 3 channels that can handle phone calls. So if you're not using an application like Zoom, or you're trying to kind of merge a bunch of different things and you want to record, what these channels do is they do what's called mix minus. So they can bring in a phone call and your mic can route back to that phone call through either Bluetooth, USB, or over a wired connection. The other day, Molly and I were doing a Zoom call, and I just had my phone Bluetooth to the Rodecaster before I kind of had my laptop set up ready to do it like this. And it worked great. The full, my mic was kind of Bluetoothed. Basically, this microphone was essentially my Bluetooth mic for my phone, which is a pretty badass way of having a Bluetooth mic for your phone.
Yo, shout out to Rodecaster for making such an amazing piece of equipment.
Rode.
Because I've been trying to figure out. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to get a better, cleaner thing, because I even have like a nicer laptop camera, and I still don't think it's great, right? So I've actually been experimenting with my Canon, right? But what I need to do is get a battery pack. I have a bunch of batteries, but they're all dead, so I have to order one online. But you could also take your mic, plug a microphone into your camera and set this up and pull that as an input, that's kind of like as good as it's going to get. The next step would be your iPhone or your cell phone. So if you have a Rodecaster, you can Bluetooth it, and then the video, you could just like accept the Zoom call or whatever from your phone instead of your computer, and then it would bring in your phone video, and then because your phone is Bluetooth to the Rode, and then your microphone is plugged into the Rode, the audio would come from the microphone, and then the video is coming from your phone. Like, it doesn't get any cleaner than that unless you have a DSLR. But most people don't, and that's fine. So the Rodecaster is actually cheaper than a DSLR. Crazy, and will serve you so much better in the long run. I don't know if people are still shipping them right now or not. Are you still shipping those?
We still have some partners out there that are able to ship Rodecasters.
Nice. So, that's amazing.
If you're looking for one, if you're asking for one, if you have questions about it, you can always hit me up and we can talk more about it. There's some other cool things about the Rodecaster that make it kind of like the all-in-one. It has 4 headphone outs on it, so you don't need any additional hardware. It can record straight to an SD card. So right now, the audio that we're hearing is actually being passed through USB to my computer. But let's say we didn't have the computer or didn't want to involve the computer right off the bat. You could just record directly to an SD card, multi-track record it, and then drag and drop it to your computer to edit later. If you're not one to do video, if you're not trying to do video right now, if you'd rather podcast in your pajamas, totally cool. And you can do that. So this is a standalone solution for recording podcasts. Last but not least, it's got these super sweet pads over here.
You could be like an MPC beat maker.
Yeah, so if you're beat maker, you've probably seen these things before. But what they're used for is recording like sound bites. So right now in this Rodecaster, I could record a quick, we can just do it since we're doing this live. What the hell?
Go crazy, Adam. You know what I'm saying?
This podcast recording is brought to you by Podcast Outfitters and Heartcast Media. And then I can play it back.
Crazy, Adam. You know what I'm saying?
This podcast recording is brought to you by Podcast Outfitters and Heartcast Media.
Oh, that sounded really good. It sounded better.
That's pretty awesome. Recorded right now inside the Rodecaster and played back in real time.
No fancy editing, people. That was the real deal.
The real deal. That is not post-production work. That is happening right now.
None of that Hollywood tomfoolery over here. I'll tell you that much.
So if you don't have the opportunity to have a Rodecaster or the funds for one, another recording device is the Zoom H6, which is probably before the Rodecaster came out, was probably one of the more popular ways to record podcasts mobily. Just a lot of similarities between the Rodecaster and the Zoom. It also has 4 mic inputs built onto it. You can see Molly has 3 things plugged into it right now as far as microphones are concerned. It has headphone out. It can also record directly to an SD card, so you don't need your computer with you if you're going to use it. But it also can be used, just like the Rodecaster, as an audio interface, a way to connect microphones like these through a USB cable to the computer. So that's the way Molly's using it right now. She's actually recording microphones through the Rodecaster into the computer and being used for the Zoom call. At the same time, just as a backup, she could be recording the podcast inside the Zoom as a backup recording.
But I'm not, because I like to live on the edge, Adam. You know what I'm saying?
But if maybe you were concerned about your Wi-Fi quality, if it wasn't top notch and it was going to kind of sputter and do all that sort of stuff, if you're recording into the Zoom, you're actually recording it before it hits the computer. So that means that with no concern for Wi-Fi, no issues with anything like that, you're recording the audio as it's being recorded and then pushing it to the computer. So that's a nice way to have a clean backup if you ever had to get into that situation.
Oh, that's a really good point. I should be recording these sessions because worst case scenario, I could just rematch them up with the video and then I'd have super, super clean audio that wasn't relying on that internet transmission for sure.
That's right.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, so right now, on the Zoom call, I have, you can select, you hit the little microphone, you can select your inputs. So I have it on the H6, but while it's on the H6, like right now, number 4 is the Shure mic. But if I put it over to number 3, I turn number 4 off, and then now I've got it on this microphone. And you see how quickly I did that, right? I didn't have to change the settings in Zoom because it was already set to the H6. And then at the same token, I can switch it over here, and now I can be using this microphone. So it's a really nice feature to be able to do this. And then if you had 4 people at the same time, technically you could have all of the microphones on and go crazy, but ideally not for one person.
The other cool thing about the H6 and some of the other products in like the Zoom recorder family, or there's even other, other brands like Tascam, is another really popular one for podcast recording and multi-track recording. The H6 comes with a set of microphones that go on top of it. So you can use those microphones as a microphone. Maybe you're in a situation where you don't have any other mics, you just have your Zoom, you don't know where they are, they're quarantined somewhere else, whatever it might be. You can use the Zoom as its own microphone and record directly into it just like that. The other thing that you can do with a mic like that, with the Zoom, is that you can actually treat the Zoom H6 or the Zoom H4 as a USB microphone. So you can plug that whole device with the microphone on top of it, nothing else plugged in, into your computer, and it would treat it just like a USB mic, just like this guy.
Let's actually test it out. Let's see what it sounds like. Oh, wow. Check that out. It seems like it's, whoa. You hear that?
There you go.
Switching sides. That's kind of crazy.
So it's another answer, right? It's another solution to the problem of how can you get good audio for your recordings. I
mean, that's pretty clean. That definitely sounds better than just, out of your laptop microphone.
Totally. Yeah. Laptop mics, while they can work, you're just going to get a lot of more like ambient noise. You're going to hear the room more. You're going to hear tapping, clacking, clicking, all that kind of stuff. So using these kind of dynamic microphones where you can better control what you're picking up and what you're not picking up is a better way to make sure that you're always getting, optimal recording every time you're trying to record a podcast.
Okay, so now I switched it to this other type of microphone, and it's it's working. You would have to turn the gain up pretty high. Oh, look at that. That's a huge difference right there. Oh, wow. That's pretty good. Yeah. So you could technically just have that sitting right there, and that's pretty solid. I mean, that's I got the gain cranked up, but I mean, that's not bad. So if you have one of these recorders, right? So if you're a sound person, if you're in that industry at all, you probably have one of these. Turn that off. I feel like I have too many things plugged in. But if you have one of those little recorders, you can make it work. You just have to figure out the sweet spot where to put it on your desk and like how close from your face and all that. But you could totally make that work.
It's an easy way to get it done. So buying a Zoom recorder or a Tascam recorder like a DR40X or an H4N are nice, easy ways to, you can buy one product now that has built-on microphones, but it has the inputs to allow you to expand down the road. So if you're looking for one thing to use right now where you can get it now, record a podcast right now without any other equipment necessary, but leave yourself a little room to grow as you kind of evolve your podcast, going with the Zoom H6, going with the Zoom H4N, going with the Tascam DR40X, all killer options that leave room to grow while still getting you up and running right away. The last thing I want to show you is one of Molly's go-to pieces of kit. It's the IK Multimedia iRig Pro.
Oh yeah, I got mine here.
If you have, boom. So if you have a microphone kicking around, maybe you use it for some other purpose, and you weren't really able to you can't make best use of it right now. This is a way that you can turn your phone into a recording device. This gives you a nice mic input. It gives you headphone output. And it gives you a connection to your phone so that you're able to get something like an SM7 or an SM58 into your phone, sounding professional when you didn't really have a way to do that otherwise. So cool little solution. Some of those are still out there shipping too. So if you're looking for one of those, hit us up, let us know. But really, we just kind of wanted to go through some ideas, some ways to record. This is this is absolutely not an exhaustive list of the ways to record podcasts. There's a million trillion ways to do it. And no way is right or wrong. There's only ways to kind of improve the audio, and there's always room for growth and to make things better. But that's kind of all the gear that we have at home right now to kind of show you. Well, you know what?
We can do one more, actually. I'm going to switch over here. This is the AKG D7.5. AKG might still be shipping because they're a rather large company. I'm not too sure.
D5, yep.
Are you still shipping those, Adam?
AKG can still get them out. So yeah, we can still do AKG D5 mics too.
Okay, perfect. So, Chuck Levins, Podcast Outfitters, this is a great microphone. Again, it's a condenser, or it's a dynamic microphone, so it's only going to pick up what's in front of you. We've been using these at the studio for the last 3 years before first we had condenser mics, and then we realized those were a nightmare. And then we switched to these, and then we've upgraded to the Shures. But this is a great microphone. Price point is like $100. I mean, you hear it. It sounds really good. You can pick up all the nuances. You just got to be really close to it, because if you get further and further away, now all of a sudden you're just hearing me in the room. You're not hearing me on the microphone. So you feel the difference there. So, I mean, this is a $400 mic and it's great, but this is a $100 microphone that still is going to hit all the marks. It's going to sound really, really great. You can't go wrong with it, right? So again, the amount of money you spend on a microphone does not determine its quality, right? Especially, if you're not trying to spend a ton of money on microphones, there's some really solid options available to you.
It's really more about understanding the tools, how they work, and how you need to use them to deliver the best audio.
Exactly.
If you need any help with that, Molly and I are both around. We're happy to help. But otherwise, I think we've kind of covered a lot of different things. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.
All right. We'll see you soon.
See ya.